May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I could just leave it here. That's a sermon in and of itself and is good enough. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. But y'all are not getting off quite that easy this morning. There will be a full sermon. As someone who has always been engaged as a debater, a philosopher, and someone who's just a little type A, I struggle with this phrase and knowing the terms. What does it mean by evil? What is good? I think I just want to know what I'm agreeing to, what all I'm getting myself into. And I think the readings from this morning give us just that. So first off, what is good? The easy answer is the gospel is what is good. It is the example set forth for us as Christians. The gospel is what is good. This morning, we hear in the gospel message Jesus rebuking Peter, saying, "Get behind me, Satan." This is a bit of a stark contrast compared to last week, when Jesus said that Peter is the rock on which the church is to be built. Peter, in all of his humanness, becomes the rock for the church and then becomes its very stumbling block. And yet, Jesus still gives instruction. We are to pick up our cross and follow him. We are to set aside the earthly things that we are attached to. We are to move away from our human divisions. We are to, as much as we can, move away from our humanness to live into God's love. We are to pick up our cross and follow him. And then we look at Romans, and we see all of these very beautiful, specific examples, almost a rewording of the Beatitudes. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with mutual affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. We are called to live and love one another. In living the gospel, we are called to live and love. Love is the theme in Romans throughout all of it. It's all about service, caring, love, patience, being present with God, being present with God that resides in each other. It's hard to remember this when we look at the news stories of the day. Us versus them, political divisions, racial divisions, difficult situations that were not created out of love and out of care for one another, but were created out of othering the neighbor, of not embracing each other with love. I think that this letter and this part from the letter of Paul to the Romans can provide us a great example of how we should model our lives, especially in this time of division. So, of course, if we explore what is good, we must also look at what is evil. The form of writing that Paul uses in this letter gives us both explicit and implicit evil. We are able to see by the example of what is provided as good, what is evil. When we embrace the teachings of Paul in this letter, we learn that othering people is what is evil. We are called to extend hospitality. We are called to bless those who persecute us. We are called to bless people and not curse them. We are called to trust in God, not claiming to be wiser than we are. So the opposite of this is pushing others away, of not loving and embracing the neighbor, of not being present with the God in each other. It's also holding on to earthly things, our earthly divisions, the earthly things that separate us that are not of God. In short, what is evil is not the gospel. But we're also not called into complacency in this peace. We are called to serve each other, to love each other, to be present with each other. But that's not complacency, that's action. We are called to be physically present. We are called to be listeners to each other's stories. We are called to share and be advocates of the gospel. We are called to take up our cross and follow him. It's not easy. It's never been easy. We see this in Moses and his call from God. Who am I to go to Pharaoh? I've had many of these same thoughts myself as I have begun and continued throughout my journey in seminary. Who am I to do this? And yet we are each called. God affirms with Moses and with each of us that God will be with us. So ultimately, it boils down to the two greatest commandments. We are called to love the Lord our God with all our heart and with all our soul and with all our mind and all our strength. We are called to love our neighbors as ourselves. These are the two greatest commandments upon which hang all the laws and the prophets. If we live into these, we will not be overcome by evil, but we will be able to allow evil to be overcome with good. So this coming week, I encourage you, as you watch the news, as you feel separate from each other during this pandemic, as you feel frustrated, confused, lost by the divisions of our world, read this section from the letter of Paul to the Romans. Remember to let love be genuine, to hate what is evil, to hold fast to what is good, to love one another with mutual affection, because that is what is good. That is the message of the gospel. That is the message of love. And brothers and sisters, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Amen.